Welcome to Movie for You. Today, we are going to explain an Australian science fiction drama movie called Terminus. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. The film opens as several American agents arrives at an old woman's house. She takes them to her husband, who is repeating some same words. It is also mentioned that her husband used to be blind, but now he is inexplicably cured. She takes him to a place near her house where a meteor has recently crashed. The agents speculate that the meteor did something to her husband. They also think that they are late because the meteor is gone, but they know that they need to find it at all costs. We then see a man named David who is at his wife's grave. He returns to a garage where he works as a mechanic. His boss is angry at him for some reason, and despite him almost begging for the job, his boss fires him. As Davis is processing this and walking out, an army man named Zach walks in thinking that he is the boss. Zach asks David for a job, but he tells him that he himself got fired just now. Zach is seen then sitting in a bar as David is also coined accidentally. In that same bar there's news on the TV about the war Zach have served in. A man comes and sits right next to Zach as he shares his opinions on that war. This offends Zach, and they start to fight in an alley. As the man brings other people as well, David is nearby and he sees that Zach is getting beaten up by those people. David joins the fight, but Zach's prosthetic leg comes off. Men fight, making it obvious that he lost a leg in that war. They feels bad for beating him up as they run away after insisting in dropping Zach off. David goes back to his own house. He lives there with his daughter named and who has made a birthday cake for him. It is then revealed that and has been kicked out of college as her feet wasn't paid on time. David then decides to go for a ride outside to clear his mind. While driving, he sees a meteor crashing and loses control of the car, which results in him crashing and getting severely injured. The scene cuts to the next day where and is worried for her father. She tries to find him everywhere in town, but all goes in vain. On her way back, she sees that David's car has crashed on the side of the road. She checks it out, but still couldn't find him. Once she comes back inside her car, she finds David standing right in front of the car. She instantly takes him to a hospital where the doctor is curious about his kidneys and confirms that David gave one of her kidneys to her mother, but she still couldn't survive. However, the doctor claims that somehow David now again has his 2 kidneys back and is shocked by this and takes David back home. David again has a flashback of that night where we see a strange object on the ground. As David is severely injured, he goes closer to it. Suddenly some tentacles emerge out of the object and touch David on the arm. In the current time, David gets a hallucination when he meets his deceased wife. She tells him to bring the strange object back and save. And David speculates that there is a strong chance of a nuclear war and that he can save himself. And with that object, the next day David goes to a shelter that is for disabled people and finds Zach. He tells him that he needs his help to take something back to his garage. They go there and Zach picks up the object with David and puts it in a truck. David takes it to the garage and Zach goes back. At night, Zach starts to feel striking pain in his amputated leg. When he takes a look at it, he sees that his light is growing back. This means that the object heals people. The next day, Zach feels even more pain in his leg and he somehow makes it to David's place, who is still with the object. David wanted to know what is happening to him and takes him inside the house to check on him, and also comes there, who is shocked to see this but still helps. David then goes and comes back with some cylinders. He then takes Zach and into the garage and shows them the object. He cools down the object with the cylinders and is still confused. David puts Zach's hand on the object and the tentacles touch Zach as well. Just as they do, Zach's leg starts to regenerate even faster and sees this and faints as she couldn't process this anymore. When and wakes up, she sees that Zach was walking on both of his legs. They both goes to the garage where David is drawing a design that will keep the object safe. He needs to buy some materials, but he is broke and has no money. He goes to the junkyard and meets with the owner. He sees that he has some things that he can use in the making of a machine that could hold the object, but David cannot even buy these cheap materials from the junkyard and tries a different approach. He takes the owner of the junkyard to a bar and gets him drunk. While talking to him, he gets the owner drunk to the point where he passes out for the night. David makes the best out of this golden opportunity and breaks into the junkyard. He steals some materials and a cement truck from the junkyard and goes to an abandoned factory where he starts working with Zach. The agents are now at the location where David had found the object earlier. They ask the sheriff, who points in towards David's direction, saying that he crashed his car here and got injured, but was healed in one day. The main agent named Julius now knows that David has the object that came from the meteor. Agent Julius then goes to and who is throwing her mother's old clothes in a pile and is planning on burning them before she can burn them. Julius comes there so he can get some information out of her. They sit inside the house and talk when David also Arrives there, they start to ask him questions, and he straight up denies that he ever saw the object. Julius then explains how an old man near another object got cured of blindness, and how David suddenly had his kidney back. David then admits to being in contact with the object but claims that it melted away. They even check out his garage. They then leave, but David knows that they are following him and watching his every move. David cleverly gives his car to his friend, and they keep chasing his friend while he goes back home and is very anxious, and she tells David that they should just give the object to them. David explains that there is a risk of a nuclear war, and they need the object to survive. Zach is then with his friend, and he explains that he knows about an object that regenerated his leg. He offers his friend that he can take into the object and help him regenerate his limbs as well and live a normal life. Zach only means good for his friend, but he refuses. He claims that there will be a nuclear war, and helpless people like him will die anyway, so there's no point in doing anything. Zach is also heartbroken at this and walks out of the room. Zach and Ann are then seen going back home. When the agents also arrive there, they know that Zach is with David, and that he was not supposed to have a leg. They know that Zach and Ann are involved, so they takes them. On the other hand, the owner of the junkyard realizes that David and Zach stole something from him. He looks at some footage and tracks him down to the abandoned factory. He goes inside and sees that David is working on something unusual with all the things he stole from the junkyard. He wants to call the police and have David arrested, but they start to fight with each other. David tries to stop him and try to knock him unconscious, but he accidentally kills him. David is still a good person, and he did not want to kill anyone, so feels extremely guilty now. While feeling culpable, he walks inside the concrete machine that he has modified into a place that holds the object. Now Julius is with Zach and Ann. He is now threatening them and even starts to hit Zach on his leg, but both of them do not give up the location of the object this until David comes there. He sees the pile of clothes outside that Ann wanted to burn but couldn't. He lights those clothes on fire with the intention to distract the agents, and it works. The agents goes outside while Julius is left alone. David walks inside with a gun pointed at Julius' head. David then manages to escape with Zachariah while all three of them are running for their lives. Julius aims his gun at Ann and shoots her. He does this because he knows that David will take her to the objects so that they can heal, and in this way he will find the location just as Julius speculated. David immediately takes Ann and puts her near the object inside the machine, but the object is not doing anything with its tentacles, and David has now lost all hope. He comes outside and plans to burn the entire machine so that the agents doesn't get to the object. Julius comes there at the right time and tells David to not burn the machine before David can do anything, and crawls out of the machine completely healed. While David's attention is diverted towards his daughter, an agent shoots him in the chest as he falls. Julius is there, and he is mad at the agent who shot David because he didn't wanted anyone to die. Before he can explain himself, a shootout ensues and Zach opens fire. He shoots multiple agents and kills them as he gets shot himself as well. Julius gets up and witnesses a massive explosion occurring. This means that the nuclear war has started, and now doing anything is pointless because they are sure to die with his last breaths. David tells Zach to take care of, and he explains that he needs to get inside the machine with and save themselves. David decides to stay outside because no one else knows how to control the machine. He sends David and Ann inside and closes the machine while he is outside and happy that he saved his daughter. Once they are inside, they notice that the machine is entirely covered with the object's tentacles. Those tentacles start to release a strange liquid that ultimately fills up the entire machine. It freezes with Zach and Ann inside. We then see the whole world getting destroyed by these nuclear bombs. After a while, Han and Zach wakes up inside the liquid. The machine opens up, and they see that the world is completely destroyed, and they are the only one who survived. Here this movie ends and does not further explain what the object was or